8 Uhr am Morgen.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and by now you may have realized that all of this has happened exactly the way it was supposed to. You see, everyone who comes to the Institute does so because they feel that they are no longer in control of something important to them. But more often than not, the problem is not that the problems we face can't be solved. The problem is that we become so afraid of failure that we refuse to see our problems from a new perspective. And so we do the same things again and again and again. And therein, of course, we find exactly the failure we were looking for. Your life will always be a struggle, and you will always have problems. But today, you have the chance to see things differently. Even though it meant facing obstacles that seemed impossible at first, you thought outside the box, and you overcame them. Because you saw things from every angle, you understood them for what they really were. Because you kept moving forward, no matter how far off the path you were told you were headed, or how unexpected it became, you found your way. In a few minutes, you'll be back in the real world, and some part of you will say that none of this was real. So how could it have really meant anything? But just like the power of perspective itself, it will have been as real as you believed it to be. All you've got to do is wake up.
Ja. Das war schon extrem für mich dann schwer gewesen. Weil was soll man dazu groß sagen? Und recht mit den Dingen hat er halt nicht. Wir probieren, wenn wir an ein Problem kommen oder so, die Sache immer wieder und wieder. Und verzweifeln irgendwann daran. Also aber wenn wir mal versuchen, das aus einer anderen Blickwinkel zu betrachten, mal die Herangehensweise zu ändern, das könnte zur Lösung führen. Mal eine andere Sichtweise einzunehmen. Und das nicht nur bei objektischen Problemen, sondern auch bei zwischenmenschlichen Problemen. Einfach mal versuchen, die Sichtweise zu ändern. Ich denke, das könnte so einige Probleme halt am Ende auch lösen, ohne dass es ewig Streit gibt. Denn Streit ist am Ende nur Meinungsverschiedenheit. Der eine hat die Sichtweise, der andere hat die andere Sichtweise. Ja, wo sich mal versucht, in die andere Sichtweise reinzudenken. Könnte vielleicht auch eine Lösung sein. Oder man bleibt ewig im Streit. Das wäre die andere Variante. Deswegen finde ich es echt geil, dass sie halt mal mit der Sichtweise spielen. Ich meine, Objekte sich immer verändern in der Größe durch halt die Sichtweise. Objekte, die halt ferne sind, sind halt kleiner als die, die nah sind. Oder wie auch zum Beispiel im Klon-Level. Ich habe da ja ewig dran gehangen. Weil ich nicht die Sichtweise bedacht habe. Habt ihr gesehen, was ich ja für Kommentare mal reingeschnitten hatte? Vielen Dank fürs Treuen. Also das Spiel ist echt ein Traum. Also hier sieht man echt, hier wurde echt mit viel Liebe auch rein entwickelt. Ich muss echt mal gucken, ob die Entwickler auch noch andere Sachen rausgehauen haben oder rausgebracht haben. Aber irgendwie, ich würde es feiern, wenn da auch noch ein zweites Spiel dazu erscheinen würde. Mit ähnlichem Spielkonzept. Oder gar ein Superliminal 2 oder so. Gut, müsste nicht unbedingt, weil ist ja glaube ich nicht so angedacht, dass halt weiteres Spiel dazu rauskommt. Aber das Spiel ist echt schön gemacht. Also an alle, die das entwickelt haben, eine größte Hochachtung. Ja, dann gibt's ja noch. So cool. Gibt's noch weitere Modis? Herausforderungsmodus. Entwicklerkommentar. Workshop. Ich denke mal aber, einen Entwicklerkommentar habe ich gespielt gehabt. Ich denke mal, ich werde dann im Nachhinein noch dazu schneiden, denn da war ich wieder entmutet gewesen. Ich denke mal, das werde ich dann wieder aus dem Stream hier reinschneiden. Deswegen nicht wundern, dass sich dann gleich wieder die Overlay sich verändert. Ja. Ich bedanke mich bei allen, die mir hier zugeschaut haben. Ich bedanke mich auch bei Sashko6 nochmal für den Follow im Stream. Und ja. Ich freue mich natürlich auf weitere Streams mit euch. Ein Spiel habe ich ja noch in Beobachtung, was ich mir holen werden möchte. Ich werde aber den Namen nicht erwähnen dazu. Es soll eine Überraschung sein. Ich finde das Spiel aber recht schön. Und wie ich schon mal erwähnt habe, es geht halt in die... Ich weiß nicht, ob das halt auch wieder in den Teil war, wo ich halt gemütet war. Es geht halt in die Richtung wie das Spiel halt, so ein Rätsel-Puzzlespiel. Allerdings nicht mit der Perspektive, also in gewisser Hinsicht auch eine Rolle. Aber eher, ja, man verändert die Welt so ein bisschen mit. Und damit muss man Rätsel lösen. So. Aber das war genug Gelaber. Ich schneide jetzt noch bei hier den... Ja, das andere Teil noch, also hier die Entwicklerkommentare. Und wünsche noch allen einen schönen Tag.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and by now you may have realized that all of this has happened exactly the way it was supposed to.
Hello, and welcome to the Superliminal Developer Commentary. I'm Albert, Game Director of Superliminal. Myself and the rest of the team will be popping up every now and then as you play. With subtitles open, you can see who is talking and what their role on the game is.
Patent-pending Somnosculpt technology provides safe and effective dream therapy while you rest in the comfort of our flagship clinic. Located right next to the secondary overflow parking lot at the University Medical Center. Somnosculpt will make your dreams come true.
Hi, my name's Chris. I was the producer and designer on Superliminal.
Hi, this is Will O'Neill, and I was the writer on Superliminal.
Okay, so that very beginning of Superliminal is actually one of the last parts we finished. Throughout development, we created so many different introductions to the game. Not all of them were cutscenes, like that one, but we ended up feeling that that in-game video sequence offered a really smooth on-ramp that let us set the framework for what's to come. By keeping it grounded in the world, rather than just a video, we felt it to be a good way to get you situated in the game and aware of what's up.
So when I wrote the opening line of "Are you filled with feelings of self-doubt" at the beginning of the game, I was definitely envisioning a player immediately, unconsciously responding with yes. And of course, the purpose of that is to sort of pull you into the idea that you're not playing a character in the game, that it's you inside this experience. And of course, making it clear that the clinic itself is not necessarily the safest or most prestigious place to get treated creates an immediate tension. Especially when the very first thing you do in the game is accidentally sign away all of your rights.
A lot of people ask about how the resizing mechanic works. The concepts are actually quite easy. To keep an object looking the same, assume if we move the object twice as far away, it just needs to be twice as big. It's all proportional. Interestingly enough, this also works no matter what field of view you use. The hard part of this mechanic isn't the actual resizing. It's trying to figure out where the object needs to be. To do this, you need to test a weirdly shaped object with a weirdly shaped background, and trying to find the right ratio for the object to be big enough to not touch anything, while keeping everything accurate and optimized.
Terms of service.
Hey, this is Matt. I did the music and sound.
Falling asleep. Welcome to Somnosculpt.
This very first jazz piece in the game is called I Wonder, and if it sounds at all familiar to you, that's because you just heard its melody and chord progression in the Somnosculpt TV jingle back at the start of the game, which I called Smooth Wonder.
Hi, I'm Logan, and I'm level designer on Superliminal. A difference with the main resizing mechanic in this game is how much freedom it gives the player. This puzzle is a good example. In most puzzle games, if you put an object on a button in this scenario, the object doesn't need to be moved anymore. The key to unlock the door removes the key from the problem space. But unfortunately, in our game, you can just turn around and grab the object from any distance away. Therefore, we've gotten good at adding barriers in many places so people won't carry an object through all puzzles forever.
Confirmed. You can move freely, interact with surrounding objects, and listen to messages from your patient care team. Please note that I am the standard orientation protocol and that my voice has been explicitly chosen to remind you that I am not a part of your patient care team. I do not care.
Hi, my name is Alex, and I performed gameplay programming on Superliminal. When I joined the project, there weren't really any menus except the absolute bare minimum to get the player into the game, and there wasn't any keyboard support either. So the first order of business was to add proper mouse and keyboard support to the title and pause menus. The hardest part was supporting switching between the two on the fly, because you never know when the player is going to do it, and it could lock them out of the game. With that foundation laid, I started working on controller support. In terms of the menus, there wasn't much work to do. The pad basically acts like a keyboard. But gameplay was quite a different story. As we approached launch, we all agreed that controller support wasn't quite up to par, and so we shipped without it, adding it around a month after launch. To make controllers feel as good as mouse and keyboard, I wrote a bunch of code to modify how controller input is interpreted. For mouse and keyboard, input is more or less one-to-one mapped to player movement. So you move the mouse and the camera turns. But that doesn't feel good with controllers. Trying to pick up a very small object, say a chess piece, could be quite finicky. In the end, I made it so looking around accelerates the longer the stick is pressed, and behaves differently based on whether you are looking vertically or horizontally, and also while you are holding an object. Probably the biggest change was a quote-unquote auto-lock feature, which draws the focus to a grabbable object as your cursor gets closer to it. All these changes culminated in controllers feeling much more accurate and satisfying.
Throughout each level, we try to give subtle hints on which objects are grabbable and which aren't. This is more of an introductory level, so it doesn't have a lot of objects, but you might notice that grabbable objects, in yellow, are complementary colors to the background colors of green and beige.
During eyelids, you will lose the ability to awaken suddenly due to realizing that this is a dream. Evidence: I have already informed you that this is a dream. You did not wake up. Please complete the remaining orientation activities.
There's quite a bit of foreshadowing throughout this level. We wanted to hint at the mechanics that are going to come later in the game. For example, the projection, the clone, and the portal hallways later on. Little things like that feel like visual treats when you're playing this level, but serve as fun reminders when you play for a second time that we kind of told you the whole thing all along.
Hi there, I'm Steve. I'm the art director of Superliminal. One of our main visual touchstones for this section centers around a couple of silly questions. What would someone in the early 90s dream up as a futuristic testing facility? And how could they build that on a shoestring budget but with infinite time? I feel like those two questions were ones we actually asked ourselves more than once during the process of making this game.
When we were playtesting, we realized that players were getting tripped up on different aspects of the resize mechanic. So we tried to make each puzzle in this level teach a specific action. The cheese puzzle is our way of forcing players to make something from very small to very big, and the puzzle after that is the opposite. This broken window puzzle is to teach you how to make things small and fit through a hole, but at a distance, so you can't simply walk up to it.
All environments perceived during eyelids should reflect a typical mental state. If you believe your mental state was compromised by Somnasculpt, please provide a comprehensive, rational explanation in your post-procedural survey. Completed surveys may be eligible for a gift card.
We had this looping hallway for a while, but it was very nondescript and players got confused on where they were and they would get turned around. So our artist Steve helped mock up some windows and landmarks so people can tell where they are. Immediately, we found that playtesters weren't getting lost anymore and understood the moment. Our core game mechanic is so novel that we immediately drew comparisons to other quasi-sci-fi puzzle games. And since our game is about playing with and subverting expectations, we wanted to lean into that and start the first level with a kind of test chamber aesthetic and immediately break that going forward. Narratively, this space is what Dr. Pierce planned to have his dream therapy program look like before it all went wrong.
Please stand by for polite recognition on your completion of the Somnasculpt orientation. You did it. To maximize the time allotted for your therapeutic journey, please do not delay in proceeding through the final doorway as indicated.
The reason we ended up with this sleep clinic section is because we wanted to convince players that they might have actually woken up from the dream. So we don't have any dreamlike mechanics you can play with until you get to the vending machine. Later on, this becomes a hub you come back to in order to emphasize the feeling of waking up from a dream within a dream.
We want the first moment of people walking into this hallway to feel different from other first-person puzzle games. This hallway is designed to feel surprisingly warm, which helps make it feel a little bit surreal, and a little bit odd. Throughout the game, we're bouncing between these two feelings, the feelings of warmth and coldness.
What the hell? Wie ewig war ich jetzt gemutet gewesen? Hoffentlich nicht seit der Pause. Ich merke erst jetzt, dass mein Mic-Balken sich null bewegt hat. Ich plappere und plappere. Und im anderen Modus und habe halt nicht gesehen, dass das Mikrofon gemutet war. Ja, Subi. Ja gut. Ich glaube, ich werde da einiges nachsprechen müssen. Wie Brain auf K kann man sein? Ja gut. Also werde ich das dann halt... Werde es machen, dass ich es halt in YouTube halt in einzelnen Fragmenten bringe. Und da werde ich auch einiges nachsprechen müssen. Und nachvertonen müssen. Ja, Subi. Ich werde da viel Spaß haben. Was heißt nachvertonen? Ich werde ja so machen, dass ich ja mir schaue und dann überlege, was ich dazu plappere. Ja. Ich bin gerade ein bisschen frustriert. Ah gut, ist halt so jetzt so. Aber wie ich schon eigentlich, wo ich gemütet war, gesagt hatte, werde ich halt den Stream für heute beenden. Und jetzt gerade noch der Aktion. Und die Videos auf YouTube kommen werden, werde ich mal schauen, weil ich die erstmal auch ja schneiden muss und alles Mögliche. Mein erstes Mal, dass ich Videos jetzt mal auch so in Viertelstunde-Takten schneiden werde. Denn so ein einzelnes Fragment werde ich jetzt auf YouTube bringen. Und dann natürlich auch schauen, welche Teile ich halt alle jetzt dann nachsprechen muss. Ja, dann habt noch einen schönen Abend. Ob ich morgen live kommen werde ich mal schauen. Da falle ich hier wieder mit hier Satisfactory, mal schauen. Und ja, man hört und sieht sich. Ciao.